Have you given yourself permission to prioritize yourself, but still find everyone else's needs somehow landing at the top of your list? Welcome back to our From Permission to Power series. Today, we're bridging the gap between permission to prioritize yourself and actual boundary mastery after 50. Because understanding you deserve to put yourself first is only the beginning. The true transformation happens when you consistently protect what matters most to you. Let me share a personal story. For most of my adult life, I was the ultimate people pleaser. I prided myself on being available to everyone who needed me. My children, my extended family, friends, colleagues, even casual acquaintances, and I'm the church lady. My default response was always yes, regardless of how full my plate already was. I thought this made me kind and generous. In reality, it was leaving me exhausted, sometimes resentful, and disconnected from my own needs and desires. The wake-up call came on my 52nd birthday. I planned a small celebration for myself. Nothing elaborate, just a quiet dinner with a few close friends. But that morning, a colleague called with an urgent work situation. Then my friend asked if I could watch her kids because her sitter canceled. Then another friend needed help with a task she'd completely forgotten about. One by one, I said yes to each request, watching my birthday plans dissolve into nothing. By evening, I found myself alone in my car, eating takeout after helping everyone else with their priorities and having completely abandoned my own. Something broke open in that moment. I realized I'd given myself conceptual permission to prioritize myself, but I had no actual boundaries to protect that permission. I'd become so habituated to putting others first that even when I consciously wanted to prioritize myself, I lacked the practical tools to do so. That night, sitting in my car with a lukewarm carry-out dinner, I made a decision. I was done with permission without protection. It was time to learn the art of boundaries, not as a selfish act, an essential practice of self-respect and authentic service. Through conversations with other women, I've observed that many of us struggle with this exact gap between knowing that we deserve to prioritize ourselves and actually protecting that priority through consistent boundaries. 3 specific barriers keep so many brilliant women stuck in pattern of self-sacrifice, even after they've given themselves theoretical permission to put themselves first. Number 1, the guilt trigger. The automatic surge of guilt that arises when we consider our needs before others. This emotional response is so immediate and powerful that it often overrides our conscious decision to prioritize ourselves. Number 2, the capability trap. The reality that we're genuinely good at solving problems, managing crises, and supporting others. Our competence becomes a trap when others come to expect and depend on our continuous availability. Number 3, the identity confusion. The deep uncertainty about who we are if we're not the perpetual giver, helper, or problem solver. After decades of defining ourselves by what we do for others, boundary setting can trigger a profound identity crisis. And I'm sure you would agree with me here. Today, I'm sharing my 5-step boundary mastery framework, the practical bridge between permission to prioritize yourself and actually protecting what matters most to you. So here we go. Number 1, boundary foundations. Understanding what healthy boundaries actually are and are not. Many women have misconceptions about boundaries that make them seem selfish or harsh. This step is about reframing boundaries as act of integrity and clarity that benefit everyone involved. This foundation transforms how women approach boundaries. One woman shared that she'd always seen boundaries as walls that keeps others out. Through this work, she came to see them as fences with gates, clearly defining her property while allowing mindful connection. Healthy boundaries are not about rejection, but about protection, creating conditions for genuine giving rather than depleted sacrificing. Number 2, priority clarity. Identifying what actually matters most to you. Without clear priorities, everything feels equally important, making boundaries nearly impossible to establish or maintain. This clarity transforms daily decisions. A friend realized that while family was a stated priority, she was allowing work to constantly override family time, further compounding compounded by the remote work. By clearly defining what family first actually meant in practical terms for her, she created country boundaries around work hours and availability. Number 3, boundary language. Developing clear, compassionate communication for your limits. Many boundary attempts fail because of how they are expressed, either too apologetic or too aggressive. Effective boundary language is direct, calm, and unapologetic while remaining kind. Instead of, "I'm so sorry, I just can't possibly help with this right now. I feel terrible." A woman might say, "I'm not available for that, but I appreciate you thinking of me." Another effective boundary language is, "That's not something I can say yes to right now, but I hope it works out beautifully." And if you like to add some humor to your gracious decline, you could say, "I won't be able to take that on right now, but I'm cheering you on from the sidelines." This simple shift from apologizing to stating creates profound changes in how others receive our boundaries. Number 4, response planning. Preparing for the inevitable pushback when boundaries shift. When we change patterns that others have come to expect, resistance naturally arises. This step is about anticipating and preparing for these responses rather than being derailed by them. Developing specific response plans for some of the most challenging boundary situations. One woman created a script for her adult son who had developed a pattern of financial dependence. Another practiced response for her mother's emotional manipulation tactic. Having these responses prepared prevented them from reverting to old patterns in moments of pressure. And number 5, consistency cultivation. By building the practice of maintaining boundaries over time. Initial boundary setting often feels empowering, but consistency is where transformation happens. This step is about developing the inner resources to sustain boundaries despite discomfort. Consistency requires both self-compassion and practical support. One strategy is to create boundary buddy partnerships for accountability and encouragement. This allows you to celebrate boundary victories, both large and small, and processes setback without judgment. This supportive approach transforms boundaries from occasional stand to consistent ways of being. So let's take action. Today's power step is implementing boundary language. I want you to identify one situation where you consistently struggle to maintain boundaries and develop clear, compassionate language for that specific scenario. Let me give you some examples. For a woman whose friends constantly called with personal crisis, and I know many of you can relate to this, you could say, "I care about you and I'm not available for emotional support calls after 8 p.m. For the woman whose adult children expected last-minute babysitting, you could say, "I'm happy to care for my grandchildren when it works for all of us. I need 48 hours notice to make that happen." For a professional whose colleague texted at all hours, you could say, "I respond to work messages between 8 and 6 p.m. on weekdays. For 3 emergencies, please call." The key elements of effective boundary language are clarity. Be specific about what you are and are not available for. Compassion. Express boundary without attacking or blaming. Confidence. Avoid apologizing for having a legitimate boundary. Consistency. Use similar language each time to reinforce the pattern. Write down your specific boundary statement for your challenging situation. Practice saying it out aloud until it feels natural in your voice and body. Then commit to using this language the very next time this boundary situation arises. This simple practice, having clear language ready before you need it, dramatically increases your likelihood of maintaining boundaries in moments of pressure. Today's question, share in the comment what one boundary you're committed to establishing or strengthening, and what language will you use to express it. Your boundary language might be exactly what another woman needs to find her own voice. If you're ready to move beyond permission and into true boundary mastery in your third act, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. In the next video, we're talking about from permission to be imperfect to fearless action. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. If you want to download the complete boundary mastery framework, including the boundary language guide with 20 ready-to-use scripts for common situations, join our free Third Act Society community. Link is in the description. Let me remind you that your boundaries are not selfish, they're sacred.